All right. Meanwhile, let's talk about what's going on with Helene, and let's talk about the funding. Now, we see and we know for a fact that people in the mountains were not getting attended to. And we also know that a lot of the landslides and a lot of that flooding, a lot of the flood insurance, they don't get it because they don't feel as though they don't live by water. They don't think it'll be an issue. So you have a unique storm that took place 2 weeks ago, and then people need aid. And then out of nowhere, Mayorkas comes out and says, oh, by the way, FEMA's out of money. Right. We're going to need a replenishment. At the same time, showing really a tone deafness, over the weekend, Kamala Harris talked about how I'm giving Lebanon $167 million. At the same time, $100 million go to the storm-ravaged people of America.
These
By
are
the way,
tweets.
Side note, why are we giving Lebanon any money? Hezbollah runs that country. You're giving it to the terrorists. It makes no sense. But having said that, that created the controversy. Where is the money you had already? How could you not have enough for hurricane season? And why can you get it automatically for Lebanon and have to get Congress to okay it for us?
So these are the different. Can we put those tweets back up? Because here, before we get into the briefing, this is what started it all. She's ensuring that Lebanon gets $157 million. But her next tweet that day was, today I announced that the Biden administration will provide $100 million to repair I-40, a major artery for the western North Carolina. We will stand with North Carolina and every state affected by this storm, Ainsley.
So she's giving $157 million in additional aid for food, water, and shelter to Lebanon, a total of $385 million over the last year. That's without Congress coming back. She's just giving them that money. Last night I was watching Sean's show, taxpayer money that we're also giving out, $12 billion per year to Ukraine, $2 billion per year to Ethiopia, $1.3 billion per year to the Taliban, $3 billion to Yemen, $1 billion to Egypt, Jordan, Nigeria, Somalia, and South Sudan. And we're being told that FEMA is running out of money. Some are saying we've already run out. Some are saying it's going to last us through November to help America. So we're giving all this to other people. Well, this is a concern for people in North Carolina. Now you have, the Redneck Air Force is there. You have
a lot of Special Forces guys.
Exactly. All these different operations, all these different volunteers that are helping because people are out there and they're saying we're not seeing FEMA's help. So, Peter Doocy, I want you to set this up. Yesterday he was talking to KJP. What happened?
Well, just because people are frustrated. So, last week, Joe Biden sent a letter to the leaders in Congress, the top 4 people, and said, you are going to have to come back and you're going to have to give us more money for FEMA because we don't have, as Mayorkas, and we reported this last Thursday, Mayorkas said we don't have enough money if there's one more hurricane. Hurricane season runs through November. They had no idea there would be a major hurricane bearing down on Florida today. So Peter Doocy took all this information about how Lebanon's getting $157 million new dollars immediately, but the people of the Carolinas, there's no money for them. That led to this.
And on this issue of funding, the administration has money to send to Lebanon without Congress coming back. But Congress does have to come back to approve money to send to people in North Carolina. Do I have that right?
Here's what I'm going to be very clear about. The president and the vice president has had a robust whole of government response to this. Hundreds of millions of dollars. I said it at the top, more than $200 million. But instead, people want to do disinformation, misinformation, which is dangerous.
But President Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir. What you do, yes, it's misinformation. The way you're asking me the question is misinformation. There's money that we are allocating to the impacted areas, and there's money there to help people who truly need it. There are survivors who need the funding, and it's there.
That you don't like misinformation.
I said that. I actually said we have the money available to help survivors of Hurricane Helene and also Hurricane Milton. What you're asking me is why Congress needs to come back and do their job. That's what you're asking me. Congress needs to come back and do their job and provide extra assistance, extra funding to disaster relief fund. That's what Congress needs to do, and we're going to continue to urge that. You may not want that, but that's okay. That's what this president wants, and that's what the vice president wants. Thanks, everybody.
3, 2.
First of all,
Peter's expression.
His facial expression is all of us right now, trying to figure out what was that. And just before we even get to the substance of the argument, the White House press corps has to push back on every time a reporter asks a question that they don't like, that it becomes misinformation. They have been wrong on so many things, but they call it misinformation every single time. Number two, I don't think it's too much to answer the question, why are Americans being put last when it comes to this issue? It's not that we don't support other countries and want to help build them up and yada, 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 yada. But the comparison of $157 million compared to $100 million in the middle of a crisis, and then saying that you got to beg Congress for more money to help the people of North Carolina, it ticks a lot of people off.
Well, you know, Peter's point, you cannot call a question you don't like disinformation,
No.
but that's what she did. I believe it was a couple of weeks ago, I think she referred to one of his questions as being dangerous. He was asking a fair question. Why is it dangerous? Why would she say that stuff? Keep in mind, I think it was last Friday, she was made a senior advisor to Joe Biden.
Oh, great, because she's done so well as press secretary.
And here's what she was doing yesterday. She was defending the absolutely atrocious optics of the administration sending $167 million to Lebanon while the people of North Carolina are going to have to wait for Congress to pass more money. It is a bad look, and she has to defend it. And instead, what she's trying to do is confuse people. Oh, wait, is Peter asking a question that's not fair? No, the question was fair, and the answer was not right.
FEMA's still sitting on $4.5 billion in unused funds from Storm Sandy.
That?
Yeah, they do hold on to it in case people file late. That's one. He's already tapped into 2025's budget in order to help FEMA, he says now. So why wouldn't you tap into Superstorm Sandy back in 2012, I think it was? That's when that was. So just use that, unfreeze that.
Right.
You're the president of the United
Reprogram.
States.
Well, they gave $30 million, according to this research that Fox, our brain room, came up with, $30 million to North Carolina, $71 million to Florida. This is for Helene. $5.7 million to South Carolina, $30 million to Georgia, and $175,000 to Tennessee. $30 million sounds like a lot for North Carolina, but the people there are not feeling it. And when you compare it to what we're giving Lebanon, we just approved $157 million, but this year, $385 million.
Plus, Ainsley, it's not even just the money. The FEMA representatives are in the wrong locations in North Carolina. That much is clear. When you have Samaritan Purse that is doing the legwork and all these Christian organizations that are there, and they're saying FEMA is there, but they're not anywhere near where they need the help, that's a problem. That's mismanagement. That is bureaucracy in play. And by the way, they're getting in the way of the private organizations that are on the ground. They're the ones that are getting the bodies out of the way, making sure people get clean water. The water is not going to be on, they think, for weeks now. No electricity. Where's the government providing the generators? It's the private organizations that are doing that.
Right. I also say that the FEMA director told Brett Baer last night that just because you don't see us doesn't mean we're not there.
That's even worse.
Isn't that the Holy Spirit?
That's even.
I mean, isn't that what Jesus said? I mean,
I don't remember that.
I'm not going to do this with you.
I'll pull out the passage.
I know there was a flood in the Bible, but I don't remember that part. All right, so where this whole question came from was that Kamala Harris goes out over the weekend and announces, hey, we're sending all this money to Lebanon. And that's what prompted that. Meanwhile, she's back in the news. She sat down with Bill Whitaker from CBS yesterday, and Bill Whitaker asked a lot of really good questions. He did not get a lot of good answers. For instance, we all regard the border and immigration as one of the top three
And her
items.
biggest weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, absolutely, with this administration, when you look at the numbers, and you've seen the jaw-dropping numbers. Here he is. He has to ask her 3 times about what this administration is doing, and 3 times she doesn't answer.
There was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem. And solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers
under your
today,
watch.
because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
But should you
we
have
have
done
cut
that?
the
Should you
flow
have
of
done that?
fentanyl by half, but we need Congress to be able to act to actually fix the problem.
From day one, we have been offering solutions,
It's
she
unbelievable.
said. These are her solutions. Stop the border wall, end Remain in Mexico policy, allow Venezuelan illegal immigrants to remain in the United States, create controversial migrant parole programs, decriminalize illegal immigration, offer health care to illegals, hotels, and food and education. So these solutions seem to benefit the illegals, not the Americans who are paying for it.
And this is the result. The result is Trump in total had 2.4 million cross the border, and she has 8.3 and counting. That's up 241.5%. And part of the reason why the numbers are down now, number one, some executive orders were effective.
And some
some are just because people use the app. They're in Ecuador, El Salvador, and they're able to apply for to the State Department to get in for asylum. And they'll go to a central location. They'll be flown in, so they don't count as a border crosser. And they end up in your town by your NGO, and soon they're going to end up in your school.
They rewrite the rules and try to claim credit. Number two, it's the summertime. It's not a lot of people crossing the border. They'll die, especially when you're coming across the Texas border. And that's why the numbers were down during that period of time. It still doesn't also address what they did on day one. And to your point that you mentioned earlier, they had control of Congress for 2 years. If they wanted any border legislation, they could have got it done. But they didn't want that. The message was sent out to the people in foreign countries that America was open, that you could just cross the border. We showed you the images of people with Biden-Harris shirts coming across the border. And they say don't come. But the people across the border heard a different message, which come.
Sure. And when you look at, given the fact that we're exactly 4 weeks, 4 Tuesdays from Election Day, New York Times came up with a new study, and it found, once again, in this new poll, that, once again, the border is one of the top issues. But the number one issue is the economy, and that helps, according to the New York Times, Donald Trump. 42% say Trump's policies help them personally. 75% of Americans say that the economy currently is fair or poor. That helps Donald Trump. And about 3/4 say they have cut back on groceries. Currently, Donald Trump is leading on the economy by 2 points. It had been 5 points last month. Now it's 2, but he still leads on that. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.